Okay, so as you can see in the dying light of um, the day is pretty much over. But I think we made some pretty large strides in progress towards like just the normal things that we, normally do today. But also, and more importantly, in that strange situation with the files that I got from the zip file. So let me get into that. I had to kind of attempt to jot all this stuff down in a little doodle. Because I'm a little scatterbrained today, and I needed something to kind of help remind me what the flow of the story was. So it begins with us finishing up our little mundane tasks, and then when we finally get back to the station, I grab my dad and I shove him in front of my computer to show him the strange situation with the files. And he didn't really recognize or even really see what was going on there. Like, like even he was like, okay, so you extracted that and you got like a .exe, right? And I was like, no, I got a file. And he was like, okay, what kind of file? And I was like, file. So I ended up transferring over to the GitHub page where we got the files from, and I showed him the code that was posted there. And he looked through and he started kind of or we thought we started to kind of understand a little bit better now that we had a more keen eye for code sitting over my shoulder. And we still kind of came up blank and with questions. So I ended up being like, okay, so that means that we've reached our last bastion. We've exhausted our our level of intelligence. So let's join the Discord and see if the support ticket or even just like the general posts about this project will help enlighten us at all. So the first thing that we found out was there is a support for this project, but there's just one thread posting in there. So at the very least, we know that we're not the first. And that there might be a fix. So we went down the rabbit hole of that thread, and we found out that the person who posted it, he kind of recognized, or she, I guess, recognized that there was a problem with like the extension of the zipped folder itself or something like that. And then he did something with like a tar.gz. I forget what the process was as I'm sitting here right now, but my dad over my shoulder was just like, that's not how I remember using tar.gzs, or maybe it was some other thing. But so his insight to that sector was not helping at all. And then we were looking to see if there was a fix at all. Because it was like, okay, so here's this thing here, I tested it out, and then here, and then the last sort of couple posts where here are my images, and it's one that shows all the files and your .exe in there. And I was like, so he did it, he fixed it, right? So that's what's the most recent upload there that I downloaded and got a weird thing. And it was kind of ambiguous as to if the fix was posted or not, or if it was implemented. Um, so I kept kind of combing over the thread and trying to understand what was happening there. But my dad, meanwhile, he suggested, hey, let me get my friend online and maybe we can start like a virtual meeting, and he might be able to shed some light on this stuff, because not only does he just deal with programs in general, but he deals with GitHub on a relatively common basis. So we sat down in front of the computer and we saw his friend, and we went over the problem with him. I shared my desktop and I went through the same rigmarole that I did with my dad, and then finally he goes, "Can you just send me the HTTP for the GitHub page, cuz I just want to try something." And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I mean, if it's no bother to you." So I sent it to him, and he goes, "Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just download the file that you're trying to do, and I'm just going to do everything that you're doing on my end and just see what happens." And we go, "All right, yeah. I mean, if your computer's doing something process that mine isn't, I would love to know." So he does it. He goes through it, and he gets a file with the .exe in it. And so I sit there and I'm kind of dumbfounded, like, what? But why not my computer? And so we started asking him questions about, like, okay, so what software did you use? Did you use 7-zip? Did you use WinRAR? Did you use whatever? Did you use the basic thing that's on your computer? And he goes, no, I just used whatever the computer recommended, but I'm also on a Mac. And I was like, oh, that might be a big problem because every piece of technology on this property so far is a Windows. um, so that's a fun thing. We're still trying to figure out what my computer's not doing because I'm pretty sure it's something that my computer is doing specifically. There's a lot of other people that are doing both Mac and Windows, and they're not having any of the problems that I'm having. So I'm pretty sure that mine is isolated to just me, and it's not really something worth reporting. Just because, um, yeah, I think it's just my computer's not doing something right. Like I don't have something set up somewhere. So that's pretty much it. Our fastest solution is that we're going to use the extracted files that he has, and he's going to put them into a format that a Windows thing can, access, and then he's going to put it onto a server, and then we're going to download it from there, yada yada yada. Because if we have the extracted folder, then why go through all the rigmarole to extract it again from some other way when I can just have the files there and just hand them to you? So yeah, that's the story.